How you doing? You guys having a good Monday? Oh, you immediately opened up the fish decks. How is everyone doing today? Are you guys having a good Monday today? You might notice that my model actually moves a little bit differently now that I'm in different lighting. It's pretty interesting. I moved my entire setup. So now I'm actually in my living room. I also found out why my computer was making that sound. So my computer was making that clinking sound, and I found out it's one of my fans. And what I did to try and like lessen the sound a bit while I'm talking is I actually put one of the books on it, and it cuts off the air circulation from that specific fan, which lowers the weird octave sound that it was creating. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a good Monday, having a good week so far. I am Scriptsune, a book reading kitsune, and we are going to be starting on book 3 of Warriors, The New Prophecy, which is the second series. This book is called Dawn. I'm going to be reading the back snippet, and then I will be going through the clans. And from the clans, we will do the prologue, and then we will do the first 5 chapters of the book. And that is what our goal is for this stream. Did the decks reset? No. It did not reset. It's just, there's a lot of fish. And by a lot of fish, I mean a lot of fish. You have a lot of fish that you have not caught. You see how it says that there's 147? Yeah, there's 147 fish. That's crazy. You guys actually have yet to catch a lot of the fish. There is a lot of fish you guys haven't caught. God. I'm sorry, that's way too long of a list. You ran fish 9 times today. There's no way you got 9 different fish. And also the rarities. I have yet to see anyone get any of the rares. Like maybe 1 rare, but no epics or legendaries yet. I wish you luck on getting some because they are very hard to come by. And I have yet to see anyone get any of those fish. So we're going to start with the back snippet. I do believe, let me look here. I do believe that the map is the exact same. Yep, the map is the exact same. So I don't need to show you guys the map. It's the same one as the first series still. I'm wondering when they're going to actually change the map on this book. Because if they're going to end up traveling, the map's got to change somehow. You caught Alter? What? Do you know how hard it is to actually catch the actual people rather than the characters? So how fish works is when you have the weight of the fish, the higher the number, the more difficult it is. So considering the weight of that fish is way higher than all the characters from the book, that tells me that you just caught one of the rarest fish in the entire pool right now. You got damn lucky. Top all time. Oh my gosh, look at that. Just you and me? What happened to Lechy's info? I thought maybe it only just picks you and me because we're here in chat right now. Maybe it'll also show Lechy when Lechy comes back in. Just have to know I did have to transfer a lot of information, so it might just not be saying it until they enter chat. I just want to mention that. So, okay. I did make it to where I can get the ads. So it will let me know when the ads are actually going to start now. So I fixed that. So it will let me know when ads are running, and then I'll be able to stop for a moment for that. Thank you for the head pat. Why do I hear a cat? Hang on, my cat's at my door over there. He wants to go through it. Come on out, cat. No. No. So a part of my new area where I'm sitting is I actually have my cat tree right next to my desk, so he can actually sit there if he wants to. Alright, you guys, let's see here. So the back of this book starts with darkness, air, water, and sky will shake the forest to its roots. The young cats who set off on a quest many moons ago have returned with a chilling message. The clans must move to a new home, or risk destruction. But the cats have no idea where to go. What they need is a sign from StarClan. And that is the back snippet that we get from that. So I guess they finally get to go home. That is good to know. So we're actually going to be able to move to the point where we see them go back to the clans. I've been waiting for ages to see what happens. Alright, now we're going to go through the allegiances. Since this is a new book, that means if we look at the allegiances, we're going to see some of the stuff that's happening and kind of get an idea of what will happen in the book. Because the allegiances will tell us what's happening in about half of the book. It won't tell us what's happening in the back half. It will tell us what's might happen in the front half. Just depending on whose names are where, we can kind of gander at what might happen in the book. Allegiances: ThunderClan, leader, Firestar. That's a given. Deputy, Graystripe, Firestar's best friend. Medicine Cat, Cinderpelt, with apprentice of Leafpaw, so Leafpaw is still going strong. Warriors: Toms and She-Cats without kits. They actually put that as a snippet. They didn't used to have that in the other books, and I think that's the first time they actually put that. So Mousefur with the apprentice of Spiderpaw, Dustpelt with the apprentice of Squirrelpaw, Sandstorm, Cloudtail, Brackenfur with the apprentice of Whitepaw, Thornclaw with the apprentice of Shrewpaw, Brightheart, Brambleclaw, Ashfur, Rainwhisker, Sootfur, and Surletail. Okay, so Cloudtail and Brightheart are still in the allegiances, which means, at least for the first half of the book, they are believed to still be alive. That's what I can gander from that. Thank you for the bell, Holy. So they've got to still be alive. The queens are Goldenflower and Ferncloud. Oh, poor Ferncloud in the last book. If you weren't here for the last book, one of Ferncloud's kits passed away because of Ferncloud not being able to get enough food. The elders are Frostfur, Speckletail, and Longtail. One of the elders in the last book died, so it's no longer in the listing. Now we have ShadowClan with the leader of Blackstar, the deputy of Russetfur. What? Russetfur is the leader now? The deputy? She's kind of young for that. Medicine Cat, Little Cloud. What happened to Running Nose? Does Running Nose die? Oh shit, we're already seeing some names get marked out. I mean, they did say that they're having a hard time and that some cats are gonna die, but that sucks. We're already figuring out who, at least for the first half of the book. Warriors, Oakfur, apprentice of Smokepaw, Cedarheart, Rowanclaw with an apprentice of Talonpaw, Nightwing. So, Nightwing... Wait a minute. Running Nose is still there. Hold on, I have to get down to it. So we got Nightwing, and then we have Tawny Pelt. Tawny Pelt was Tiger Star's daughter, and one of the 4 chosen cats of the book series. We have Queen, which is Tall Poppy. I think Tall Poppy wasn't a queen in one of the previous books. So she must be ready to have kits then. Elders, Running Nose, and Boulder. Hi Lechi, welcome in. I'm just going over the clan allegiances right now before we get into the prologue. How are you doing? I hope you're doing well. So I thought Running Nose and Boulder died to the sickness or something, and that's why their names weren't up at the deputy and the medicine cat, but apparently they just are elders now. And that's why they weren't up there. So Running Nose retired, and Boulder retired as deputy. And that's why Russet Fur and Little Cloud are in those spots instead. Okay, now we have Wind Clan. Doing well, still working on the reference sheet. I wish you luck on the reference sheet. Me, I have a perfectionist streak, and I'm like, well, if I don't get it right, then I'm just gonna keep doing it over and over again. Wind Clan, leader of Tallstar. Tallstar has been a leader forever. Then again, it also says here, elderly black and white Tom. So even though he's an elder, he's still a leader. I think that's the only part where, when it comes to the cats, if you're a leader, you don't get to retire. You have to actually die to retire because you have the 9 lives. I have yet to see an actual leader of any of the clans retire naturally. You know what I mean? Okay, Deputy of Mudclaw with the apprentice of Crowpaw. So Crowpaw is one of the 4 chosen cats. And we already had a very sad parting for Crowpaw in the previous book, when Feathertail died. And Feathertail is actually Graystripe's daughter. So that's going to be very sad for Graystripe when they come back and he gets that news. I'm kind of interested to see what will happen there when they tell them that. I have a feeling that Graystripe is not going to be happy. Especially since Feathertail was the most resemblant of the mother. Medicine Cat, Barkface, Warrior, Torn Ear, Webfoot with the apprentice of Weaselpaw. Weaselpaw is a new one, so that must mean that we get a new apprentice for them in this book. One Whisker, Robin Wing. Robin Wing is a new warrior. I haven't seen them as an apprentice either. So Robin Wing has the apprentice of Thistlepaw. That's also a new apprentice. Queens, Ashfoot and Whitetail. Elders, Morning Flower and Oat Whisker. Oat Whisker is a new one. Morning Flower has been in like all of these books, even from the first series. God, she has got to be old. Okay, now we have the River Clan cats. We have the leader of Leopard Star, the deputy of Misty Foot. Misty Foot is Blue Star's daughter. Medicine Cat is Mudfur with the apprentice of Mothwing. In the last book, it was confirmed that Mothwing is actually Tiger Star's daughter with a rogue cat. Mothwing is friends with Leafpaw and is trying to help Leafpaw despite the warrior code. We have the warriors Blackclaw with the apprentice of Volpaw. Volpaw is a new one. Heavy Step with the apprentice of Stonepaw. Stonepaw is a new one. Stormfur. Stormfur is one of the... You make a clip. Why are you making a clip? Weirdo. Stormfur is also one of Graystripe's children, his son, and also the brother of Feathertail. We also have Hawkfrost, which is actually the brother of Mothwing. Hawkfrost is very ambitious and also the son of Tiger Star. Hawkfrost is the one that wants to take over the clans, just like Tiger Star did. Very ambitious. We also have Swallowtail with the apprentice of Splashpaw. So both of those names are new. What are you making a clip for? Are you making one of when you caught Alter? What are you sending? The perfect fish timing? What do you mean by perfect fish timing? I'm gonna have to watch that later now. Okay. Queens with the Moss Pelt and Dawnflower. Elders with Shade Pelt and Loudbelly. So they just got turned into elders this book. Now we have the Tribe of Rushing Water. You'll watch it and realize, damn, that's some good fish time. I guess we'll see. I'll watch it after stream and see what you mean. The Tribe of Rushing Water. Tribe Healer. Teller of the Pointed Stones. Stone Teller. Prey Hunters. Gray Sky Before Dawn. Brook where small fish swim. Cave Guards. Talon of Swooping Eagle. Man, these ones are a lot of a mouthful. Jagged Rock where Heron Sits. Rock Beneath Still Water. Bird that Sings at Dusk. Crag where Eagles Nest. Sheer Path Beside Waterfall. Night of No Stars. Kit Mothers. Wing Shadow Over Water. Flight of Startled Heron. Outside Cats of the Clans. Barley. Ravenpaw. Cody and Sasha. So Cody and Sasha are new outside clan cat names. So that tells me we are going to have two other animals that are assisting the clans outside. Either that or they're going to be messing with them. I don't know why Purdy isn't here, but I'm guessing they're not going to run into Purdy again. I guess the parting with Purdy was permanent, at least for now. Other animals. Midnight. Midnight is the badger that we saw in the first book. From there it goes to the maps, and that has not changed from the books. Now then. Are you guys ready to jump into the prologue? I mean, I hope you are. How is the music, you guys? Is it too loud, too quiet before I actually start reading? Maybe I need to turn it up a smidge. Is that loud enough? There's music? Yes, there's music. Hang on, let me turn it up a smidge. You didn't even know that there's music. Oh my god. Oh, a 7 stream streak. Good job, Lechy. Good job. Okay. Are you guys ready for the prologue? Can you hear the music now, Lechi? Are you able to actually hear it now? Or do I need to boost it a little bit further? I can't believe. If I crank up my volume, I can hear. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it right there then. I don't want it to make it too loud. Okay, we're gonna jump into this. Prologue. Stars glittered coldly on a forest stripped bare by a bitter leaf fall. Shadows moved through the undergrowth. Thin shapes, fur flattened by the chilly evening dew, slipping between the stems like water through reeds. The cat's pelts did not ripple with muscle as they once did. Instead, the fur clung to bones beneath their thin frames. The flame-colored Tom leading the silent procession lifted his head and tasted the air. Even though nightfall had silenced the two-legged monsters, their stench clung to every dying leaf and branch. The cat took comfort from the scent of his mate beside him. Her familiar scent mingled with the hateful two-leg odor and softened its cruel tang. She matched his pace stubbornly, even though her faltering stride betrayed her long empty belly in wakeful nights. Firestar, she panted as they padded onward. Do you think our daughters will find us when they come home? The flame-colored cat flinched as though he had trodden on a thorn. Can only pray that they will, Sandstorm, he said softly. But how would they know where to look? Sandstorm glanced back at a broad-shouldered Grey Tom. Graystripe, do you think they'll know where we've gone? Oh, they'll find us, Graystripe promised. How could he be so sure? Growled Firestar. We should have sent another patrol to search for Leafpaw. And risk losing more cats? Graystripe meowed. Firestar's eyes clouded with pain, and he hurried ahead along the shadowy path. Sandstorm twitched her tail. This was the hardest decision he's ever had to make, she whispered to Graystripe. He had to put the clan first. Graystripe hissed back. Sandstorm closed her eyes for a moment. We have lost so many cats this past moon, she mewed. The wind must have carried her voice, because Firestar turned his head, his gaze hardening. And perhaps, at this gathering, the other clans will finally agree that we must join together to face this threat, he growled. Join together? Defiant mew sounded from a tabby Tom. Have you forgotten how the clans reacted last time you said that? Wind Clan was half starved, but you might as well have suggested they eat their kits. They are too proud to admit that they need help from any cat. Things are even worse now, Dustpelt, Sandstorm argued. How can any clan stay strong when its kits are dying? Her voice trailed away as she realized what she had just said. Dustpelt, I'm sorry, she murmured. Larchkit may be dead, snarled Dustpelt. But that doesn't mean I will let ThunderClan be ordered around by another clan. No clan is going to give us orders, Firestar insisted. But I still believe we can help each other. Leafbear is almost here. The two legs and their monsters have driven out most of our prey, further and further away. And they have poisoned what remains so that it is not safe to eat. We cannot fight alone. Suddenly, the whispering of the wind through the branches grew to a roar. and Firestar slowed his step, pricking his ears. "What is it?" Sandstorm whispered, her eyes stretched wide. "Something's happening at Four Trees," Graystripe yelled. He broke into a run, and Firestar rushed after him, closely followed by their clanmates. All the cats skidded to a halt at the top of the slope, looking down into a steep-sided hollow. Bright, unnatural lights, sharper than moonshine, blazed the sacred place since the time of the great clans. Hello, welcome in. I hope you're enjoying the story. More light shone from the eyes of huge monsters squatting at the edge of the clearing. The great rock, the vast smooth gray stone where clan leaders stood to address the gathering each full moon, looked small and exposed, like a kit crouched on a thunder path. Two legs scurried around the hollow.
Why are you so sus?
Oh,
Quit your sussiness, you fuzzy little baka.
let me see what the heck you're saying here. I'm gonna get out Google Translate. Google Translate time. Why does it say with ChatGPT? Just give me the regular Google Translate. There we go. I don't know your I don't know your language, but what a great story. Oh my gosh, that's actually funny. That is amusing. I don't know what you're saying, but great story. Hey, maybe when they come out with the animation for Warriors, that is apparently supposed to be in 2027, maybe they will have it in Spanish, and then you'll be able to enjoy Warriors too. Two legs scurried around the hollow, shouting at one another. A new sound sliced through the air. A screeching, high-pitched whine, and one two-leg raised a massive, shiny forepaw that flashed in the brilliant lights. The two-leg pressed it against the trunk of the nearest oak, and dust flew out from the tree like blood spraying from a wound. The shiny forepaw howled as it bit viciously into the ancient bark, pushing deeper into the tree's heart until the two-leg cried out a warning, and the hollow rang with a crack so loud that it drowned the rumbling monsters. The great oak began to lean over, slowly at first, then faster, faster, until it fell crashing to the ground. Its leafless branches clattered as they struck the cold earth, then stilled into deathly silence. "StarClan, stop them!" mewed Sandstorm. There was no sign that the warrior ancestors had seen what was happening at Four Trees. Stars glittered coldly in the indigo sky as the two-leg moved on to the next oak, his forepaw screaming for another kill. The cats watched in horror as the two-leg worked its way around the clearing till the last oak had been felled. Four Trees, the place where the four clans had met for many, many generations, was no more. The four giant oaks lay sprawled on the ground. Thank you for the lurk, Lechy. So it seems like I gotta hydrate, so let me drink some water. Thank you for the hydrate. the branches quivering into stillness. Two-legged monsters snarled at the edge of the clearing, ready to move in to carve up the fresh kill. But the cat stayed frozen at the top of the slope, unable to move. "The forest is dead," murmured Sandstorm. "There's no hope left for any of us." "Have courage." Firestar's eyes glittered as he turned to face his clan. "We still have our clan. There's always hope." And that is the end of the prologue. Chapter 1. It was Crowpaw who scented the moorland first, as the morning sun spread creamy light over the dew-soaked grass. Although he made no sound, Squirrelpaw saw his ears prick up and sensed him shake off a little of the weariness he had struggled against since Feathertail's death. The dark gray WindClan cat quickened his pace. Hurrying up the slope, where mist still clung to the long grass. Squirrelpaw opened her mouth and drew in a deep breath until she too could taste the familiar scent of gorse and heather on the cold morning air. Then she dashed after him with Brambleclaw, Stormfur and Tawnypelt following fast behind. They could all smell the moorland scents now. They all knew they were close to the end of their long, exhausting journey. Without saying anything, the 5 cats stopped in a line. At the edge of the WindClan territory, Squirrelpaw glanced at her clanmate, Brambleclaw, and then at Tawnypelt, the ShadowClan she-cat. Beside her, Stormfur, the Grey RiverClan warrior, narrowed his eyes against the cold wind, but it was Crowpaw who stared most intensely at the rough grassland where he had been born. "We would not have come this far without Feathertail," he murmured. "She died to save us all," Stormfur agreed. Squirrelpaw winced at the raw sorrow in the RiverClan warrior's voice. Feathertail was Stormfur's sister. She had died saving them from a ferocious predator after they had met an unfamiliar group of cats in the mountains. The tribe of Rushing Water lived behind a waterfall and listened to their own set of ancestors. Not StarClan, but the tribe of Endless Hunting. A mountain cat had been preying on the tribe for many moons, picking them off one by one. When it had invaded the tribe's cavern yet again, Feathertail had managed to dislodge a pointed spur of stone from the roof and send it crashing down to kill the beast. But she had been fatally wounded in the fall, and now she lay beneath rocks in the tribe's territory, close by the waterfall, with the sound of rushing water to guide her to StarClan. "It was her destiny," Tawnypelt commented gently. "Destiny was to quest with us," Crowpaw growled. "StarClan chose her to travel to the Sundrown Place and hear what Midnight had to tell us. She shouldn't have died for another clan's prophecy." Stormfur padded to Crowpaw's side and nudged WindClan apprentice with his muzzle. "Bravery and sacrifice are a part of the warrior code," he reminded him. Would he have wanted her to make any other choice? Crowpaw stared across the wind-ruffled gorse without replying. His ears twitched, as if he were straining to hear Feathertail's voice on the breeze. "Come on," Squirrelpaw bounded forward over the stunted grass, suddenly eager to finish the journey. She had argued with her father, Firestar, before she had left, and her paws pricked with nervousness as she wondered how he would react to her return. When she and Brambleclaw had left the forest, they had not told any of the clan where they were going, nor why. Only Leafpaw, Squirrelpaw's sister, knew that StarClan had spoken to one cat from each clan, telling them in dreams to go to the sun-drowned place to hear Midnight's prophecy. None of them had guessed that Midnight would turn out to be a wise old badger, nor could they have imagined what momentous news she had to share with them. Prologue raced past her to take the lead. Knowing the territory better than any of them, he headed towards a swath of gorse and disappeared along a rabbit track with Tawnypelt close behind. Squirrelpaw ducked her head to avoid catching her ears on the prickers as she followed them along the narrow tunnel. Brambleclaw and Stormfur were hot on her heels. She could feel the thud of their paws through the soil. As the gorse closed around her, memories beat dark wings inside her head, reminding her of the dreams that had been disturbing her sleep. Dreams of darkness and of a small space filled with panic and fear scent. Squirrelpaw was sure these terrifying dreams were somehow connected to her sister. She told herself that now that she has home, she would be able to find out exactly where Leafpaw was. But feeling a fresh wave of alarm, she raced towards the light. She slowed down when she emerged into an open grassy space. Brambleclaw and Stormfur burst out after her, their fur raked by the sharp gorse spines. "I didn't know you were scared of the dark," teased Brambleclaw, falling in beside her. "I'm not," Squirrelpaw objected. "Never seen you run so fast," he purred, his whiskers twitching. "I just want to get home," Squirrelpaw replied stubbornly. She ignored the glance Brambleclaw and Stormfur exchanged as they padded along beside her. The three cats were trailing behind Tawnypelt and Prologue, who had disappeared into a bank of heather. "What do you think Firestar would say when you tell him about Midnight?" Squirrelpaw wondered out loud. Brambleclaw's ears twitched. "Who knows?" "But only the messengers," meowed Stormfur. "All we can do is tell our clans what StarClan wanted us to know." "Do you think they'll believe us?" Squirrelpaw asked. "If Midnight was right, I don't think we'll have much trouble convincing them," Stormfur pointed out grimly. Squirrelpaw realized that she had thought of nothing except returning home to her clan. She had pushed from her mind all thoughts of the threat that faced the forest. But her heart twisted with fear at Stormfur's words, and Midnight's terrifying warning echoed in her mind. Two legs build new thunderpath. Soon they come with monsters. Trees where they uproot. Rocks break. The earth itself tear apart. No place left for cats. You stay, monsters tear you too, or you starve with no prey. Her stomach tightened with dread. What if they were too late? What if there was no home to even return to? She tried to calm herself by recalling the rest of Midnight's prophecy. "But you will not be without a guide. When return, stand on Great Rock when Silverpelt shines above." "Hi, Lone. Welcome in." A dying warrior they will show. Squirrelpaw breathed deeply. There was still hope, but they had to get home. My user still hasn't changed. Did you change your user again? It's supposed to be alone, but it is Lone 805. I'm seeing Lone 805. It is on stream, but not on my side. Dork. Refresh your page then. Hi, Lone. Welcome in. Okay. I smell Wind Clan warriors. Brambleclaw's yowl jerked Squirrelpaw back to the moorland. We must catch up with Crowpaw and Tawnypelt, she gasped. The impulse to face danger side by side with her traveling companions had become so instinctive that she had forgotten Crowpaw was actually a Wind Clan and would not be in any danger from his clanmates. Thank you for checking in, Lone. She burst out of the heather, into a clearing, and nearly collided with a scrawny Wind Clan apprentice. She stopped dead and stared at him in surprise. The apprentice was very young Tabby, barely old enough to leave the nursery. From the look of him, he was crouching in the center of the clearing with his back arched and his pelt bristling, even though he was outnumbered and outsized by Crowpaw and Tawnypelt. He flinched as Squirrelpaw hurtled out of the heather, but bravely stayed where he was. I knew I smelled intruders, he hissed. Squirrelpaw narrowed her eyes. Did a pathetic scrap like this really expect to take on 3 full-grown cats? Crowpaw and Tawnypelt looked calmly at the Wind Clan apprentice. Owlkit, Crowpaw meowed. Don't you recognize me? The apprentice tipped his head to one side and opened his mouth to scent the air. I'm Crowpaw. What are you doing out here, Owlkit? Shouldn't you be in the nursery? The young apprentice flicked his ears. I'm Owlpaw now, he snapped. But you can't be an apprentice, Crowpaw exclaimed. You're not even 6 moons old yet. And you can't be Crowpaw, growled the tabby. Crowpaw ran away, but he loosened his battle-ready muscles and padded over to the Wind Clan cat, who stood calmly while the apprentice sniffed his flank. You smell strange, Owlpaw declared. We've traveled a long way, explained Crowpaw. But we're back now, and I need to speak with Tallstar. Who must speak with Tallstar? A belligerent meow made Squirrelpaw jump, and she turned to see a Wind Clan warrior pick his way out from the heather, lifting his paws high to avoid the thorns. 2 more warriors followed them. Squirrelpaw stared at them in alarm. They were so thin she could see the ribs beneath their fur. Hadn't these cats been catching any fresh kill recently? It's me, Crowpaw, meowed the Wind Clan apprentice, the tip of his tail twitching. Webfoot, don't you recognize me? Of course I do, meowed the warrior in a flat tone. He sounded so indifferent that Squirrelpaw felt a jab of pity for her friend. This was no sort of homecoming, and Crowpaw hadn't even given his clanmates the bad news yet. He thought you were dead, Webfoot meowed. Well, I'm not, Crowpaw blinked. Is the clan okay? Webfoot's eyes narrowed. What are these cats doing here? He demanded. They traveled with me, Crowpaw replied. I can't explain now, but I would tell Tallstar everything, he added. Webfoot seemed uninterested in Crowpaw's words, and Squirrelpaw felt the scrawny warrior's gaze break over her as he hissed. Get them off our territory. They should not be here. Squirrelpaw couldn't help thinking Webfoot was in no state to drive them out if they refused to go. But Brambleclaw stepped forward and dipped his head to the Wind Clan warrior. course we'll leave, he meowed. We have to return to our own clans anyway. Squirrelpaw added pointedly. Bramaclaw shot her a warning glance. Then hurry up, snapped Webfoot. He looked at Crowpaw. Come on, he growled. I'll take you to Tallstar. He turned and began to head for the far side of the clearing. Crowpaw twitched his tail. Surely camp is that way, he meowed, signaling towards the other direction. We live in the old rabbit warrens now, Webfoot told him. Squirrelpaw saw confusion and anxiety flash in Crowpaw's eyes. Clan has moved? For now, Webfoot answered. Crowpaw nodded, though his gaze was still filled with questions. Can I say goodbye to my friends? Friends? One of the other warriors spoke. A pale brown top. Do your loyalties lie with cats from other clans now? Of course not, Crowpaw hissed. We have traveled together for more than a moon. The Wind Clan warriors glanced uncertainly at each other, but said nothing as Crowpaw walked over to Tawnypelt and touched her mottled flank with his nose. He brushed affectionately past Bramaclaw and Stormfur as he stretched his head to touch his muzzle against hers. Squirrelpaw was surprised by the warmth of his farewell. Crowpaw had found it hardest out of all of them to fit into the group, but after all they had been through together, even he felt the bond of friendship that connected all 5 cats. We must meet again soon, Bramaclaw murmured, his voice low, at the Great Rock, just as Midnight told us. We must need to see the dying warrior so that we know what to do next. He flicked his tail. It might not be easy to convince our clans that Midnight is telling the truth. The leaders aren't going to want to hear that they must leave the forest. But if we've seen the dying warrior, why don't we just bring our leaders with us? Squirrelpaw mewed. They see the dying warrior too. They'll have to believe Midnight is right. I can't imagine Leopardstar agreeing to come, Stormfur warned. Nor Blackstar, Tawnypelt agreed. It's not a full moon, so there's no truce among the 4 clans. But it's so important, Squirrelpaw persisted. They must come. We can try, Bramaclaw decided. Squirrelpaw's right. This might be the best way to share the news. Okay, Crowpaw meowed. We'll meet at 4 Trees tomorrow night, with or without our leaders. 4 Trees. Webfoot's growl made Squirrelpaw jump. The Wind Clan warrior had obviously overheard their conversation. She felt a stab of guilt, although she knew there was no disloyalty to their clans and what they were planning. Quite the opposite, in fact. But Webfoot seemed to have other fears in mind. You can't meet at 4 Trees. There's nothing left of it, he spat. Squirrelpaw felt her blood chill. What do you mean? Tawnypelt demanded. All the clans watched the Two Lakes destroy it 2 moonrises ago. When we arrived for the gathering, the Two Lakes and their monsters cut down every one of the oaks. They cut down the oaks? Squirrelpaw echoed. That's what I said, growled Webfoot. If you're mouse-brained enough to go there, you'll see for yourself. Squirrelpaw's fierce desire to return home, to see her clan and father and mother and sister, washed over again like a wave, and her paws twitched with the urge to run back to the forest. The others seemed to share her feeling. Bramaclaw's gaze hardened, and Stormfur kneaded the ground impatiently with his paws. Crowpaw glanced at his clanmates, and then back at his friends. Good luck, meowed quietly. I still think we should meet here tomorrow night, even if the oaks have gone. When Brambleclaw and Stormfur nodded, he turned and followed Webfoot into the heather. As Winkland cats disappeared from sight, Brambleclaw scented the air. "Let's go," he ordered. "We're heading over the old badger set towards the river. Tawnypelt, I think you should stay with us until we reach the Windclan border." "But it would be quicker if I head straight towards the Thunderpath," Tawnypelt argued. "It would be safer if we keep together till we're off the moorland," Stormfur meowed. "We don't want to be caught alone on Windclan territory." "I'm not scared of Windclan," Tawnypelt hissed. "Judging by those warriors, they've hardly been battle fit." "We mustn't do anything to provoke them," Brambleclaw warned. "No cat knows yet where we've been, or what we have to tell them. And we don't know what the Two Lakes have done here," Stormfur added. "If we run into any of their monsters, we'll be better off together." Tawnypelt gazed intently at her companions for a moment, and then nodded. Squirrelpaw blinked with relief. She did not want to say goodbye to another friend just yet. Brambleclaw charged away over the moor, and the 3 other cats followed close behind. As they raced across the grass, the weak leaf-fall sunshine scarcely warmed the fur on Squirrelpaw's back. They ran in silence, and she felt their mood darken as though a cloud had covered the sky. Ever since leaving the mountains, they had concentrated on nothing but reaching the forest, all equally desperate to return home. Squirrelpaw was beginning to think it might have been easier to keep traveling, to journey forever through unfamiliar territory, rather than face the responsibility of having to tell the clans that they would need to leave their homes or else face a terrible death. But there was still the sign of the dying warrior to come. They had to see this through. The reek of two-legged monsters stung their nostrils as they approached the border. There was no sign of prey, no birds in the sky, and no scent of rabbits among the gorse. Windclan had never been an easy territory to hunt in, but there had always been traces of prey on the breeze or in the sandy soil. Even the buzzards, which often hovered over the wide stretch of moorlawn, were gone. The 4 cats reached the crest of a rise, and Squirrelpaw swallowed hard, fighting the urge to retch as the tang of monsters grew stronger. Taking a deep breath, she forced herself to look down the slope. A whole slice of land had been carved out of the moorland, brown and gray and broken instead of smooth green expanse that had been there when the cats began their journey. In the distance, the two-legged monsters growled across the ground, chewing the earth with their heavy paws to leave a trail of useless mud. Trembling, Squirrelpaw whispered, "No wonder Windclan moved to the Rabbit Warrens. The Two Legs must have destroyed their camp." "They've destroyed everything," Brambleclaw breathed. "Let's get out of here," Tawnypelt hissed. Squirrelpaw heard anger in her voice and saw her long, hooked claws sink into the grass. Brambleclaw continued to stare at the ravaged landscape. "I can't believe how much they've destroyed." Squirrelpaw's throat tightened. Seeing Brambleclaw's misery was almost as bad as looking at the ruined moor. "Come on," she urged. "We have to get home and find out what has happened to our clans." He nodded. Squirrelpaw saw him brace his shoulders, as if he were literally carrying the weight of the message they had to take to their clan. Without saying anything else, he headed down the slope, keeping well away from the two-legged monsters. and together the cats picked their way across the swath of turned up ground. Squirrelpaw was grateful for the cold night that had set the hard mud. If it rained, this would turn into a clogging brown river, enough to swallow kits and suck at the bellies of the longest-legged warriors. When they reached the wind-clad border where the land swept down to the forest, Tawnypelt paused. "I'll leave you here," she meowed. Her voice was calm, but her eyes betrayed her sadness. "We'll meet at 4 trees tomorrow. Whatever the two legs have done," she promised. "Good luck with Blackstar," Brammerclaw meowed, rubbing his muzzle along his sister's. "I don't need luck," she replied grimly. "I will do whatever it takes to persuade Blackstar to come with me. Our quest isn't over yet. We have to keep going for the sake of our clans." Squirrelpaw felt a renewed burst of energy as the tortoiseshell warrior pelted away toward the Shadow Clan border. "And we'll persuade Firestar," she called after her. The grass grew softer under the paws of Brambleclaw. Squirrelpaw and Stormfur approached the RiverClan border. Soon, Squirrelpaw could scent the markers and hear the distant thundering of water in the gorge. RiverClan territory lay on the other side, and just beyond the gorge, there was a two-leg bridge that would take Stormfur across the river to his camp. Brambleclaw paused, as if he expected Stormfur to leave them there. But Stormfur just looked into his eyes. "I'm coming with you to the ThunderClan camp," he meowed quietly. "Coming with us? Why?" Squirrelpaw exclaimed. Oh, ads are gonna start in a minute, you guys. Once it does, I will go ahead and take a short break so that you guys can continue on with me. "I want to tell my father about Feathertail," he replied. But we can tell him, she offered, wanting to spare Stormfur the pain of telling Greystripe, the ThunderClan deputy, about his daughter's death. Greystripe had fallen in love with a RiverClan she-cat, Silverstream, many moons ago. She had died bearing his kits, and though Stormfur and Feathertail had grown up in RiverClan, they had always known their ThunderClan father. Okay. Was that like for the start? I think, yeah, that was for the start of the ads. Hey, look, I have a little timer now. You know what? I will go ahead and take my break now, so that way I can come back and just continue reading the next chapter too. I'll be right back. My cat has decided to join me again in the room. epic's gonna be over in about 20 seconds. Well, it's actually at the end of this chapter. I hope everyone's actually having a good Monday. I hope you're enjoying the story. And I hope the rest of your week is gonna go well too. Welcome back, everyone, from the ads. I hope you weren't gone too long. Some of you will have shorter ads than the others, knowing how Twitch works. I have let my cat back into the room, so now he's on the cat tree and he's staring at me. He's like, "Why aren't you giving me attention?" Here you go, cat, have some pats. Yes, Mary. Meow. Meow, kitty. Alright, back to reading. Stormfur shook his head. "We already lost our mother," he reminded her. "I want to be the one to tell him about Feathertail." Brambleclaw nodded. "Then come with us," he mewed gently. In single file, the three cats followed the path away from the gorge and down into the trees. Squirrelpaw's fur prickled with anticipation. "What are you doing, cat?" That's not part of your cat tree. Go back to your cat tree. Thank you. he climbed over onto my laptop stand. He would have fell if I didn't grab him. He's ticked off at me. In single file, the three cats followed the path away from the gorge and down into the trees. Squirrelpaw's fur prickled with anticipation as she breathed the musty smell of fallen leaves. They were nearly home. She quickened her pace until her paws were flying across the soft forest floor. She felt Brambleclaw's pelt brush against hers as he sped up to join her. But Squirrelpaw wasn't running from excitement or joy at being back in the forest. Something was calling her home. Something even more desperate than the threat of the two legs and their monsters. The sinister dreams that had disturbed her sleep flooded her mind again and echoed in her heart, like the warning cry of a hawk. Something was terribly wrong. That is the end of chapter 1. Chapter 2. Spotted Leaf! Leafpaw called desperately into the forest. There was no reply. The wise medicine cat had guided her many times before in dreams. If ever Leafpaw had needed Spotted Leaf's help, it was now. "Spotted Leaf, where are you?" she called again. The trees did not even tremble in the breeze. No prey sound whispered in the shadows. The silence tore at Leafpaw's heart like a claw. Suddenly, an unfamiliar yowl echoed in her ears, forcing its way into her dream. Leafpaw opened her eyes with a jolt. For a moment, she couldn't think where she was. Her fur was ruffled by a cold draft, and instead of a soft, mossy nest, there was a strange, cold, shiny web beneath her paws. She stood up in panic, and more shiny web grazed her ears. Wherever she was, it was a very small space, hardly taller than she was. Taking a deep breath, Leafpaw forced herself to look around, and everything came rushing back to her. She was trapped in a tiny den with walls, floor, and a roof, made entirely from cold, hard web. There was just enough space to stand and stretch, but no more. It was packed among other dens, lining every wall of a small wooden two-leg nest. Leafpaw longed to see the stars, to breathe in the comforting presence of StarClan, and know they were watching her. But when she looked up, she saw nothing but the nest's steeply pitched roof. The only light came from a shaft of moonlight that streamed through a small hole in the wall at one end of the nest. Her den was on top of others. The one directly below was empty, but beneath that she could just make out a bundle of dark fur. Another cat? Not a forest cat, since its scent was unfamiliar. The shape was so still, it must have been sleeping. If it was alive at all, Leafpaw thought grimly. She listened again for the yowl, but the cat that had cried out was silent now, and Leafpaw could hear only the soft mewling and shuffling of cats trapped in the other dens. She sniffed the air but recognized no scents. An acrid two-leg stench filled the nest, tinged with fear. Leafpaw unsheathed her claws, feeling them catch on the shiny web. StarClan, where are you? The thought fleetingly crossed her mind, that she was already dead, but she thrust it away with a shudder that made her claw scrape against the floor of the den. "You're awake at last," whispered a voice. Leafpaw jumped and craned her neck to look over her shoulder. A heap of tabby fur stirred in the den beside hers, and she smelled the unmistakable two-leg tainted scent of a kitty pet. There had been kindness in the she-cat's voice, but Leafpaw felt too wretched to reply. Her mind flooded with bitter memories of how the two-legs had trapped her while she was hunting with Sorreltail and brought her to this awful place. She had been separated from her clan and locked in darkness. Overwhelmed by despair, she buried her nose in her paws and closed her eyes. Another voice sounded from a den further along. It was too quiet to make out the words, but there's something familiar about it. Leafpaw lifted her muzzle to taste the air, but all she could smell was the sour tang that reminded her of the herb Cinderpelt used for cleaning wounds. The voice spoke again, and Leafpaw strained her ears to listen. "Must get out of here," the cat was mewing. Another cat answered from the far side of the nest. "How? There's no way out." "We can't just sit here waiting to die," the first voice insisted. "There have been other cats here. I can smell them and their fierce scent. I don't know what happened to them, but whatever it is, must have scared their fur off. We've got to get out of here before we become nothing but stale, fierce scent." "There's no way out, you mouse brain," came a rough mew. "Shut up and let us sleep." The words made Leafpaw feel sick with fear and sadness. She didn't want to die here. She flattened her ears and closed her eyes, clawing for the safety of sleep. "Wake up!" a voice hissed in Leafpaw's ear, jolting her out of troubled dreams. She lifted her head and looked around. Watery sunlight filtered in through the hole in the wall, though it did nothing to lift the chill from her fur. In the weak dawn light, she could see the tabby she-cat in the den next to her more clearly. The stranger was soft and well-groomed, and Leafpaw was conscious of her own matted pelt as she stared at her. She was definitely a kitty pet, plump and soft-muscled beneath her tabby pelt. "Are you all right?" asked the kitty pet, her eyes wide with worry. "You sounded as if you were in pain." "I was dreaming," Leafpaw replied hoarsely. The voice felt strange, as if she hadn't spoken for several days, and she spoke. Memories of her nightmare came flooding back. Images of water-swollen rivers, scarlet with blood, and great birds swooping out of the sky with thorn-sharp claws. For a heartbeat, Leafpaw saw Feathertail hidden in darkness, and then swathed in starlight, and without understanding why, her paws trembled. Outside, a two-legged monster roared into wakefulness, bringing her back to the wooden nest in the den that pressed around her. "You don't look well," the kitty pet commented. "Try eating some breakfast. There's some in the corner of your cage." Cage? Leafpaw wondered at the strange word. Is that what this den is called? The kitty pet was nodding through the web that separated the two cages toward a half-empty holder of stinking pellets. Leafpaw looked at the two-legged food in disgust. "I'm not eating that." "At least sit up and give yourself a wash," the kitty pet urged. "You've been hunched up like a wounded mouse since the work folk brought you here." Leafpaw twitched her shoulders, but didn't move. "It didn't hurt you when they caught you, did they?" the kitty pet asked. There was concern in her voice. "No," Leafpaw mumbled. "Then get up and wash yourself." She went on more briskly. "You're no use to yourself for any cat moping around like that." Leafpaw did not want to get up and wash herself. The webbed floor scratched against her paws, and blood oozed from beneath one of her claws. Her eyes stung with filthy air that filtered into the nest, fouled by the monsters outside. The StarClan had not sent any comfort to ease the desperate fear that gripped her heart. "Get up," repeated the kitty pet, more firmly this time. Leafpaw twisted her head around to glare at her, but the kitty pet held her gaze. "Going to find some way to escape," she mewed. "Unless you get up, stretch your muscles, and have something to eat and drink, you're not going to be..." Hang on a second, I'm gonna drink some water. Unless you get up, stretch your muscles, and have something to eat and drink, you're going to be left behind. And I'm not leaving any cat here if I can help it. Leafpaw blinked. "Do you know a way out of here?" "Not yet," admitted the kitty pet. "But you might be able to help me find one, if only you'd stop feeling sorry for yourself." Leafpaw knew she was right. She wouldn't solve anything by curling up and waiting to die. Besides, she wasn't ready to join StarClan. She was an apprentice medicine cat. Her clan needed her here, in the forest. Whatever was left of it. Pushing away the misery that had sapped her strength, she pulled herself up onto her paws. Her cramped muscles screamed in protest as she uncurled her tail and flexed her legs. "That's better," purred the kitty pet. "Now turn around. There's more room to stretch if you face the other way." Leafpaw obediently wriggled around and reached her paws to the corner of the cage, gripping the web to brace herself as she stretched, pressing her chest down and flexing her shoulders. She felt her stiff muscles soften. Feeling a little better, she began to wash herself, swiping her tongue over her flank. The kitty pet huddled closer to the mesh and watched her with bright blue eyes. "I'm Cody," she meowed. "What are you called?" "Leafpaw." "Leafpaw?" echoed Cody. "What an odd name." She shrugged and carried on. "Well, bad luck on getting caught, Leafpaw. Did you lose your collar too?" "I wouldn't be here if I hadn't pulled mine off." "The wretched thing. I thought I was so clever managing to wriggle out of it, but if I'd still been wearing it, the workfolk would have taken me home instead of bringing me here." She tucked in her chin and licked an unkept clump of her fur on her chest. "My housefolk are going to be mad with worry. If I'm not in by midnight, they start rushing around the garden, shaking the pellet pot and calling for me. It's nice that they care, but I can look after myself." Leafpaw couldn't help letting out a purr of amusement. A kitty pet? Look after itself. If it weren't for the food the two legs give you, you'd starve. Two legs? Sorry. Leafpaw corrected herself for the kitty pet's benefit. Housefolk. Well, where do you get your food from? Asked Cody. I hunt for it. I caught a mouse once, Cody meowed defensively. I catch all my food, Leafpaw retorted. For a moment, she forgot she was trapped in a stifling cage and saw only the green forest rustling with tiny sounds of prey. And I catch enough for the elders, too. Cody narrowed her blue eyes. Are you one of those woodland cats that Smudge talks about? I'm a clan cat, Leafpaw told her. Cody's gaze clouded with confusion. A clan cat? There are 4 clans in the forest, Leafpaw explained. We each have our own territory and customs, but we all live together under StarClan. She saw Cody's eyes stretch wide, and she went on. StarClan are our warrior ancestors. They live in Silverpelt. He flicked a tail towards the roof, indicating the sky. All clan cats would join StarClan one day. Smudge never mentioned any clans, murmured Cody. Who's Smudge? The cat from another garden. He had a friend a long time ago, a kitty pet who went off to join the woodland cats. I mean, clans. My father was born a kitty pet, meowed Leafpaw. He left his 2 legs to join ThunderClan. Cody pressed himself against the shiny web that separated them. What's your father called? Leafpaw stared back at her. You think he might be the cat your friend used to know? Cody nodded. Maybe. What is his name? Firestar. Cody shook her head. Smudge's friend was called Rusty, she sighed. Not Firestar. But he wasn't always Firestar, Leafpaw mewed. That's his clan name. It's a leader name. He had to earn it. He says he had to earn his warrior name. Cody glanced at her thoughtfully. Names are important to the clans, then. Very. I mean, each kit is given a name that means something. That recognizes the way it is different from all its clanmates. She paused. I guess you could say that we are given the name we deserve. What did your father do to deserve the name Firestar? His pelt is as orange as flame, Leafpaw told her. So when he came to ThunderClan, the leader named him Fire. She broke off. Cody was staring at her in astonishment. It must be Smudge's friend, she gasped. Smudge always said Rusty had the brightest orange pelt he had ever seen. And now he's the leader of your clan. Wow, I can't wait to tell Smudge. A pang of sorrow gripped Leafpaw's heart as she wondered if Cody would have another chance to speak to Smudge, or if she herself would ever see her father again. Oh, StarClan, help us. Cody glanced down at the floor, as if she had followed Leafpaw's terrifying thoughts. Your ears look like another wash couldn't do any harm, she mewed, changing the subject. Leafpaw licked her paw and drew it over one ear as Cody continued. Your father must be wondering where you've gone. But he's worried about you as my housefolk are about me. Yes, Leafpaw agreed. Though privately she doubted that the 2 legs had the same connection with their cats as she did with her kin. She reminded herself that Cody seemed devoted to her housefolk. She sounded as concerned about them as Leafpaw was about her clanmates. Must find a way out of here. Her voice hardened with determination. Firestar was already worried enough about Squirrelpaw without another daughter going missing. She stared at the hole high up in the nest. where the sunshine filtered in, and wondered if it was big enough for a cat to squeeze through. She might just manage it, even if she left some fur behind. But how could she escape from her cage? She studied the catch that held the door shut. It's no use, Cody mewed, following her gaze. I tried reaching my paw through, but I can't get a grip on the catch. Do you know why the two legs are trapping us like this? Leafpaw asked, dragging her eyes away from the door. Cody shrugged. I suppose they think we'd get in the way of what they're doing in the forest, she mewed. They caught me after I chased a squirrel into the woods, further than I usually go. One of the monsters came roaring through the trees and I panicked. I was so startled I didn't see the workfolk all around. One of them scooped me up and shoved me in here. Even without my collar, he must have been as stupid as a pup to mistake me for a forest cat. She bristled indignantly, then let her fur lie flat as she caught Leafpaw's eye. Sorry, I wasn't thinking. I mean, you're much nicer than I thought you'd be, she finished awkwardly. Leafpaw shrugged. Forest cat or kitty pet, they were equally trapped. I don't usually come to this part of the woods either, she meowed. I was looking for Cloudtail and Brightheart, two of my clanmates. Cody tipped her head to one side. They went missing not long ago, Leafpaw explained. Some of the clan thought they'd just run away, but I know they'd never leave their kid. So you decided the two legs must have caught them and come looking for them, Cody guessed. I didn't even know the two legs were trapping cats, Leafpaw mewed. I just followed a clue and I came across the scent of a RiverClan cat who'd gone missing too. She paused, her fur prickling. If Cloudtail, Brightheart, and Mistyfoot had been trapped by two legs, they could be here now. She stared frantically around the nest, brighter now as the morning light strengthened. Finally, she saw the shape she had hoped to find. The tortoiseshell splashed fur familiar even in the gloom. Brightheart! Leafpaw tried to call her clanmate's name, but a new noise silenced her cry. The nest door opened and the light streamed in. Leafpaw quickly scanned the cages for more familiar shapes as the two-leg marched into the nest. The two-leg began opening each cage and tossing something inside. When it reached hers, Leafpaw jumped back. She watched, trembling in fear, as the two-leg dropped fresh pellets into the pot near the front and slopped stinking water into the holder beside it. But when the two-leg opened Cody's cage, the kitty pet brushed against its giant paw, purring as the two-leg stroked her soft fur. The two-leg shut Cody's door and left the nest. The cages were plunged once more into shadow. How could you let it touch you? Leafpaw hissed. The workfolk might be our best way out of here, Cody pointed out. If I can persuade it that I'm not anything but a poor lost kitty pet, you might let me go. You should try it too. Leafpaw shuddered at the idea of any two-leg touching her, and she knew her clanmate would feel the same. She tried to find the cage where she had recognized Brightheart's soft pelt. Brightheart! She called, her tail twitching anxiously. Yes, came a wry reply. Who's that? Leafpaw pressed herself against the front of her cage, feeling the web hard and cold through her fur. It's Leafpaw! Leafpaw! The voice came from somewhere else in the nest. Leafpaw let out a muffled purr as she recognized Cloudtail's familiar moo. She searched the cages until she saw his thick white pelt. They're both still alive, Leafpaw exclaimed. Are those the cats you are looking for? Cody asked. Leafpaw nodded. Leafpaw, another voice came from the gloom. It's me, Mistyfoot. Mistyfoot, Leafpaw echoed. I thought I found you sent before I was trapped. What are you doing so far from River Clan? I wouldn't have been caught in that fox-hearted two-leg trap if I hadn't been chasing a thieving Wind Clan warrior off my territory, she growled. A trembling meow sounded from below. I didn't know it was a trap when I hid in it. Who's that? Leafpaw asked, peering down. Gorsetail of Wind Clan, came the reply. Are any other clan cats here? Leafpaw called, half hoping for a reply. However, relieved she was to find out her clanmates and friends were still alive. She was to find that I'm gonna open up another water, hang on. She'd far rather no forest cats had been caught at all, herself included. But she only heard the steady crunching of pellets as the other trapped cats ate their food. There's about the same amount of rogues here as clan cats, Mistyfoot hissed. What are rogues? Cody whispered in alarm. They're cats who chose not to belong to a clan, Leafpaw explained, or two legs either. They only care about themselves, Mistyfoot added. Yeah, well, look where your caring about your clanmates got you, muttered a reproachful voice near the floor of the nest. Leafpaw strained her eyes and saw a scraggly old Tom with ripped ears crouching in a cage on the floor. Ignore him, spat Cody. He'll be of no help. Do you know him? Leafpaw asked in surprise. He used to steal from my housefolk's garbage, Cody explained. He may call himself a rogue or whatever, but he's no better than a rat if you ask me. Do you live in Two Lake Place? Cloudtail called to Cody. You know a cat called Princess? A tabby with white paws? Yes. Cloudtail's eyes shone in the gloom. She's my mother. How is she? She's great, Cody answered. The dog came to live in the next house, a yappy thing, but Princess soon let him know it was her territory. She sat on the fence and hissed at him till he went running for cover. Look, Mistyfoot snapped. This is all very heartwarming, but can we figure out a way to escape? Does any cat know what the Two Legs are planning to do with us? Brightheart's voice was hoarse with terror. What do you think was going to happen with us? Muttered the rogue Tom. They didn't catch us and lock us up in this stinking hut because they are fond of cats. At least they're feeding us, Cody mewed quickly. Even if it's not quite as tasty as I'm used to. It looks like there's an ad. I'm gonna take a quick break while the ad is up. So I will be right back and then we'll go back to the story. Gotta grab my book. Yoink. There we go. Had to take the bookmark out of it again. Welcome back, anyone that was in the ads. I went ahead and just took another break like I did on the last ad. So now we can jump right back into the story. Leafpaw glanced at her. Let's concentrate on finding a way out of here, like Mistyfoot suggested. She mewed. Why don't you all just shut up, hissed the rogue. You'll bring the two-leg back with all your mewling. As he spoke, the noise of heavy footsteps sounded outside, and Leafpaw froze. She pressed herself to the back of her cage, as the two-leg came in with another cage. Leafpaw could tell by the fear scent that a she-cat crouched inside, but she didn't recognize its smell. With a guilty pang of relief, she knew that the latest victim of the two-leg traps was definitely not a clan cat. Another rogue, she decided, as the two-leg placed the cage on the top of Cloudtails. And judging by the other rogues in here, she won't be much help with planning a way to get out. But as soon as the two-leg left the nest, she heard Mistyfoot exclaim in astonishment, Sasha! That is the end of chapter 2. Chapter 3. Squirrelpaw raced ahead of Brambleclaw and Stormfur towards the ravine where the ThunderClan camp lay. The stench of two-legged monsters hung in the air, and her heart grew as heavy as stone when she heard a rumbling roar up ahead. They're already here, she whispered. There was an unfamiliar slash of brightness where a gap had appeared in the trees that bordered the ravine. Before, the forest had crowded up to the edge of the steep slope that led down into the camp. Squirrelpaw felt Brambleclaw's pelt brush hers as he crept alongside and peered out from the trees. Oh, carefully, he murmured, without looking at her. I need to retake that sentence. A broad trail had been gouged through the forest. The ground, once hidden by the ferns and smoothed by many moons' paw steps, was lumpy and muddy, churned up like the moorland. The way to the ravine was blocked by monsters, roaring and growling as they chewed through more trees. Squirrelpaw shrank back under the bracken, flattening her ears. Midnight warned us it would be bad, Brambleclaw reminded her. His voice was oddly calm, and Squirrelpaw pressed herself close to him, seeking comfort from the warmth of his fur. We can't cross here, he went on. It's too dangerous. We'll have to go around and approach the camp from the other side. You lead the way, Stormfur suggested. You know the forest better here than I do. He glanced at Squirrelpaw. Are you okay? Squirrelpaw lifted her chin. I'm fine. All I want to do is get back to the clan. Come on then, begged Brambleclaw, and he set off at a fast trot, away from the two-legged devastation. They turned away from the monsters and sped through the trees. As she raced towards the sandy clearing where she had trained with the other apprentices, Squirrelpaw wondered grimly how the clan would have survived with two legs and monsters so close. The sun was high in the sky, and the training hollow was crisscrossed with shafts of cold sunlight. She dug her paws into the soft ground and pushed on ahead of Brambleclaw and Stormfur, her chest tightening with fear as she tore along the trail that led to the gorse tunnel. Without hesitating, she ducked her head and raced into the thorns. Firestar! She yelled as she exploded into the clearing. It was completely empty. The whole camp was silent. No cat stirred, and the scent of the clan was stale. On trembling legs, Squirrelpaw padded to her father's den, underneath the tall gray rock where he normally stood to address the clan. For one wild moment, she thought Firestar might still be there in spite of the danger that roared into the brink of the ravine. But his mossy bedding was damp and musty, unused for several days. Squirrelpaw slipped out of the cleft in the rock and found her way into the nursery. Kids and elders were always the last to leave the camp, and there was nowhere safer than in the heart of the bramble thicket that had protected many generations of ThunderClan cats. There was nothing inside except the stench of a fox, almost hiding the faint scent of the helpless kits and their mothers. Blind panic rose in her chest. There was a rustle of branches, and Brambleclaw appeared at her side. Fox, she stammered. It's okay, Brambleclaw reassured her. The scent is stale. Fox must have been trying his luck, hoping the clan had left unguarded kits behind. There's no sign of a fight, he amended hastily. But where's the clan gone? Squirrelpaw wailed. She knew Brambleclaw had been about to say blood. It seemed impossible that the whole clan would have vanished without some blood being spilled. Oh, StarClan, what happened here? Brambleclaw's eyes glittered with fear. I don't know, he admitted, but we'll find them. Stormfur joined them. Are we too late? He whispered hoarsely. We should have come home quicker, Squirrelpaw protested. Stormfur shook his broad gray head as he looked around the abandoned nursery. We should have never left in the first place, he growled. We should have stayed and helped our clans. Hi, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. I hope you're enjoying the story. We had to go, Brambleclaw hissed, unsheathing his claws and sinking them into the moss. Thank you for the check-in. How you doing, Sam? It was StarClan's will. But where have our clanmates gone? Squirrelpaw cried. She pushed past the other cats back into the clearing. She heard them follow more slowly. Stormfur cursing under his breath as Bramble scraped against his flank. The RiverClan warrior padded over to stand beside Squirrelpaw. He looked around the camp for a long moment, ignoring the scratch on his hind leg. There's no blood anywhere, no trace of a struggle, he murmured. Squirrelpaw followed his gaze and realized Stormfur was right. Even out here, the camp showed no signs that the clan had been attacked. Quite well today, excited to see the VOD from the beginning. Well, I hope you enjoy it. I usually, what I do is I will send the VOD off to YouTube like right before I start my next stream. So usually you end up waiting like a week before I actually ship the VOD off. I do that so I can remember because I have ADHD, so I'm like, okay, I streamed today, so let me just post the VOD. Surely that meant the clan had been unharmed when they left. They must have moved somewhere safer, she meowed hopefully. Yeah, that's what I usually do, yeah. Brambleclaw nodded. Should keep a look out for scents, Stormfur suggested. They might give us a clue to where the clan has gone. I'll check Cinderpelt's den, Squirrelpaw offered. She charged down the fern tunnel that led to the medicine cat's clearing. But the hollow amid the sheltering ferns was as empty and silent as the rest of the camp. She skirted the edge, poking her nose into the bracken. Cinderpelt sometimes flattened out small nests here for sick cats, but there were no fresh scents now. She turned away and padded toward the split rock that formed one end of the clearing. This was where Cinderpelt made her own nest and kept her supplies of herbs safe and dry. I hope you've been having a good Monday. In the shadows, the pungent smell of roots and herbs was as strong as ever, but there was only the faintest trace of Cinderpelt's scent, as stale as Firestars had been in his den. Disappointed, Squirrelpaw backed out of the cleft and stared desperately around the clearing. A sudden, terrible realization clutched her at her belly. Cinderpelt's scent was faint, but her sister's scent was even fainter. Wherever ThunderClan had gone, Leafpaw had left before them. A screeching warrior's cry sounded from above, jerking her out of her thoughts. Yeah, I've been having a good Monday. It was very chaotic for the weekend for the 4th. I ended up doing a yard sale and all sorts of stuff. And people are like, oh my god, you did a yard sale on the 4th of July? I'm like, yep. Squirrelpaw glimpsed a flurry of dark fur. Then her legs buckled as a cat landed heavily on her back. Oh yeah, it was so nuts. I have a sunburn. Fury made her hair stand on end, and her paws scrabbled as she thrashed wildly. The journey to the sun-drowned place had made her strong and lean, and she heard the cat gasp, the effort at clinging onto her pelt. Instinctively, Squirrelpaw rolled onto her side. She felt claws rake her flank as her assailant thudded to the ground. Hissing with anger, Squirrelpaw spun to face her attacker, her hackles raised and her lips drawn back. The other cat had scrambled up as well and was glaring at her with her tail fluffed up. "Trying to steal my supplies, were you?" she spat. "Cinderpelt!" Squirrelpaw gasped. The medicine cat's eyes stretched wide with surprise.
Why are you so sus?
"Squirrelpaw, you've come home," she stammered. "Hi, thank you for following. I hope you're enjoying the story. Welcome in." Thought I kept busy. I spent so many hours at the beach in the park reading. My sunburn crept in while I used sunblock. Yeah, same here. I used 100 SPF. 100 SPF. And I still got a sunburn. That tells you something. That tells you how sensitive my skin is, that I still got a sunburn through 100 SPF. Yeah. She rushed forward, pushing a muzzle along Squirrelpaw's cheek. "Where have you been? Is Brambleclaw with you?" "Where is everyone?" Squirrelpaw demanded, too worried about her clanmates to answer Cinderpelt's flurry of questions. The sound of paws pounding along the fern tunnel interrupted her, and Brambleclaw and Stormfur burst into the clearing. "We heard fighting," panted Brambleclaw. He blinked in surprise as he spotted Cinderpelt. "Are you both okay?" "Brambleclaw, I'm so pleased to see you." Cinderpelt looked at Stormfur, and confusion clouded her gaze for a moment. "What are you doing here?" "He's with us," Brambleclaw explained shortly. "Who attacked you?" He stared around, his hackles raised. "Did you chase them off?" "Actually, it was me," Cinderpelt confessed. "I didn't recognize Squirrelpaw from the top of the rock. I thought she was trying to steal my herbs. I'd come back to fetch some supplies." "Come back?" Brambleclaw echoed. "Where is everyone?" "We had to leave," Cinderpelt explained, her eyes glittering with distress. "The monsters were getting nearer and nearer. Firestar ordered us to abandon the camp." "When?" Bramaclaw's eyes were round with astonishment. 2 moonrises ago. Where did you go? Demanded Squirrelpaw. Sunning rocks. Cinderpelt looked distractedly around the clearing. I only came back to get some supplies. Now that I don't have Leafpaw to help me collect fresh herbs, I'm always running low. Squirrelpaw's heart lurched. What happened to her? Cinderpelt glanced at her, and the pity in her eyes made Squirrelpaw want to turn tail and flee from what she was about to hear. 2 Lakes have been setting traps for us, she said. Leafpaw was caught in the one the day before we abandoned the camp. Soroto saw everything, but was powerless to help. Squirrelpaw's legs seemed to lose their strength altogether, and she swayed. With a sickening flash of horror, she understood all her dreams of fear and darkness, being trapped in a small place. Where did the 2 Lakes take her? Bramaclaw's voice sounded as if he were a long way away. Squirrelpaw shuddered, trying to fight the shock that dragged at her body like rushing water. Don't know. As Firestar sent out a search patrol. He sent a rescue patrol as soon as Soroto returned, but the place where the 2 Lakes had trapped her was overrun with monsters, tearing up trees, and there was no sign of Leafpaw. Cinderpelt stepped forward and pressed her cheek against Squirrelpaw's. It wasn't safe to look for her after that, she murmured. Squirrelpaw pulled away, but Cinderpelt stared intently into her eyes, and she felt as if the medicine cat were willing her to understand. Your father had to think of the whole clan, she meowed. He couldn't risk putting more cats in danger to search for Leafpaw. She looked away, and Squirrelpaw heard bitter regret in her voice as she went on. I wanted to go out looking myself, but I knew I'd be no use. She glanced furiously at her hind leg, weakened by an old injury on the Thunderpath. Cinderpelt knew only too well the damage that 2-legged monsters could do to cats' fragile bodies. For the first time, Squirrelpaw noticed how the medicine cat's pelt seemed to hang from her, showing the sharpness of bone underneath. Brambleclaw must have noticed too. How's the clan managing? He asked. Not well, Cinderpelt admitted. Large Kit died. Fernclown couldn't make enough milk to feed her. Prey has been so scarce. We've all gone hungry. Grief made her voice tremble. Dabbletail is dead, too. She ate a rabbit at the 2 Lakes, had poisoned to get rid of WindClan. A look of alarm flashed in her eyes. You haven't eaten any rabbits, have you? We haven't seen any rabbits, Stormfur replied. Not even in WindClan territory. Cinderpelt lashed her tail. 2 Lakes have ruined everything. Brightheart and Cloudtail are missing as well. We think that they're captured by 2-leg traps, like Leafpaw was. Bramaclaw dropped his gaze to the cold, muddy ground. I didn't think it could be this bad, he murmured. Midnight warned us, but... Squirrelpaw wished she could comfort him, but there was nothing she could do or say to make him feel better. Cinderpelt was staring at Brambleclaw in confusion. Midnight warned you? She echoed. What do you mean? Midnight is a badger, Squirrelpaw explained. That's who we went to see. You went to see a badger? Cinderpelt glanced around as if she expected to see a ferocious black and white striped face peer through the undergrowth behind them. Squirrelpaw could understand her reaction. Badgers had never been trusted by cats. They were notoriously bad-tempered, unpredictable creatures. Squirrelpaw and her traveling companions had taken a while to get over the shock they discovered exactly who they had been sent to meet. At Sundrown Place, Squirrelpaw went on. I don't understand, murmured Cinderpelt. StarClan sent us there, didn't Stormfur. One cat from each clan. Told us to go to the place where the sun falls into the sea at night, Brambleclaw added. StarClan sent you there? Cinderpelt gasped. We thought they had deserted us. She stared at Brambleclaw. StarClan spoke to you? In a dream, Brambleclaw admitted quietly. Stormfur was kneading the ground, his fur ruffled. Feathertail had the same dream. And Crowpaw and Tawnypelt, Squirrelpaw added. Cinderpelt stared at the three cats, her eyes wide. You must come and tell Firestar everything. We have heard nothing from StarClan since they sent the message about Fire and Tiger. Fire and Tiger? Squirrelpaw echoed, mystified. You'll learn about it soon enough. Cinderpelt didn't meet her gaze. Come back with me now. The clan needs to hear your story. It's the end of Chapter 3. Chapter 4. Sunning Rocks was the safest place to hide, Cinderpelt told them as she weaved through the bracken. One sec, I'm gonna get my foot stand up. I want to prop my feet up. Squirrelpaw was surprised. But there's so little shelter there. Sunning Rocks was a wide stone slope near the RiverClan border, bare of trees or bushes, except for a few scrubby tufts of grass. Aware that Stormfur was the only few paw steps behind, Squirrelpaw lowered her voice. And what about RiverClan? They've tried to claim it as their territory before. Wasn't Firestar afraid they might attack the clan? RiverClan has made no threats lately, Cinderpelt replied. Sunning Rocks is as far from the Two Lakes and their tree-destroying monsters as we could get within our territory, and close to what little prey is left in the forest. Despite her limp, she'd led them quickly through the forest. But Squirrelpaw noticed that the medicine cat's scrawny flanks heaved with the effort. She glanced at Brambleclaw. He was watching Cinderpelt too. His eyes narrowed with concern. We're in much better shape than she is, Squirrelpaw whispered to him. Our journey has made us stronger, Brambleclaw commented. Squirrelpaw felt an uncomfortable pang of guilt that their long journey had kept them safer and better fed than the cats they left behind. The sun was sinking in the clear blue sky, and a chill wind swayed the branches above them. Tugging at the last stubborn leaves, she paused, listening. A few birds chirped a muted chorus, but in the distance, she heard monsters all the time, humming like angry bees. The sticky stench hung in the air and clung to their fur. And Squirrelpaw realized that she had returned to the forest that no longer smelled or sounded like home. It had become another place, one where cats could not survive. No place left for cats. You stay, monsters tear you too, or you starve with no prey. Midnight's prophecy was already coming true. Pale gray bulk of Sunning Rocks loomed beyond the trees, and Squirrelpaw made out shapes of cats moving over the stone. The yowl startled her, and she saw white and ginger fur flashing through the undergrowth. A heartbeat later, Sorreltail and Brackenfur burst out of the bushes in front of them. I thought I could smell a familiar scent, Sorreltail meowed breathlessly. Squirrelpaw stared at the two warriors. They were disheveled as Cinderpelt, and beside her, Brambleclaw's eyes were wide with shock as his gaze flicked over their gaunt bodies. I didn't think you were coming back, Brackenfur meowed. Of course we are coming back, Squirrelpaw protested. Where have you been? Swallowtail demanded. A long way away, Stormfur murmured. Further than any forest cat has ever been. Brackenfur glared suspiciously at the RiverClan warrior. Are you on your way home? I need to talk to Greystripe first. Brackenfur narrowed his eyes. Let him come, Cinderpelt advised. These cats have a lot to tell us. Brackenfur's whiskers twitched, but he dipped his head and turned to lead the way through the trees toward the rocks. Come on, Swallowtail meowed, padding after Brackenfur. Others will want to see you. Squirrelpaw fell into step beside her, trying to ignore the anxiety that gnawed her stomach like hunger pain. It was starting to look as if their journey had been in vain, and hearing what Midnight had to tell them had come too late to help the clans. She prayed that the dying warrior's sign would be enough to save them. Glancing sideways at Swirltail, she saw that the tortoiseshell warrior's tail was drooping, and her gaze rested wearily on the ground. Cinderpelt told me about Leafpaw, Squirrelpaw murmured. Couldn't do anything to save her, Swirltail answered dully. I don't know where they've taken her. I wanted to look, but we moved camp the next day, and there hasn't been a chance. Ad's gonna start in a minute, you guys. She paused and looked at Squirrelpaw, her eyes flashing in desperate hope. Did you see her while you were traveling? Do you know where she is? Squirrelpaw's heart twisted. No, we haven't seen her. No problem. The strong, familiar scent of ThunderClan filled the air. Squirrelpaw longed to rush forward to greet her clanmates, but instinct warned her to approach them warily. She stood still for a moment, hoping that her thudding heart couldn't be heard by every cat on Sunning Rocks. The smooth stone slope, lined with gullies and small hollows, rose ahead of her. Trees bordered one side at the far edge where the slope fell steeply away. Squirrelpaw could see the tips of more trees following the river as far as Four Trees, or the place where Four Trees had been. I'm gonna pause right there while the ads are going. And I'll be right back. I actually got up and stretched that time. Doo-doo. Welcome back from the ads, everyone. I got up and stretched while you guys were stuck in ads. Thank you. Alright. Trees bordered one side, and at the far edge where the slope fell steeply away, Squirrelpaw could see the tips of more trees, following the river as far as 4 trees, or the place where 4 trees had been. The cold stone, blasted by the leaf-bare winds, was chilly resting place for the clan. Squirrelpaw looked at Suroto's paws and saw dried blood staining the white fur around her claws. She remembered how the rocks in the mountains had grazed her own paws while they were staying with a tribe of rushing water. There was no central clearing here for cats to gather, as there had been in the ravine. Instead, the cats were huddled in small groups. Squirrelpaw spotted the dark pelt of her mentor, Dustpelt, sheltering beneath an overhang, with mouse fur next to him. He seemed much smaller than when she had left, his bony shoulders jutting out from beneath his ungroomed fur. Frostfur and Speckletail, 2 of the clan elders, were crouched in the deepest gully. Even in the shadows, Squirrelpaw could see that their pelts were matted and dull, speckled with scrapes of moss and dried mud. Further down, where the gully widened, the pale gray shape of Dustpelt's mate, Ferncloud, was hunched over her 2 remaining kits. "It's more shelter down there," Cinderpelt explained, following Squirrelpaw's gaze, but the queens still feel very exposed after being used to nursery made of brambles. "The apprentices make their nests in that hollow over there," she went on, lifting her muzzle to point out a dip in the rocks. Squirrelpaw recognized the brown fur of Shoepaw, one of Ferncloud's first litter, fluffed up against the cold. Squirrelpaw glanced at Brambleclaw, who gave her a tiny nod, but there was an anxiety behind his eyes, and his shoulders were tense as he began to pad up the slope. Hi, thank you for joining us here, and thank you for the follow. I hope you're enjoying the story. I don't know why that was so difficult to say. My brain just froze up for a second. Nervously, she followed him. As she passed Ferncloud, the queen looked up at her and her green eyes darkened with anger. Don't you laugh at me. I don't know why it was so hard to just say that. I don't know. My brain just like short-circuited for a moment. Squirrelpaw flinched. Did the clan blame them for what had happened? Gotta love a brain stutter, right? Well, I went from like reading to like looking at the notification, and my brain just like kind of buffered. Hold on, wait, do I have buffer? I don't think I have buffer on this model. Damn. Some of the other cats had spotted them too. Thornclaw heaved himself out of the gully near the top of the slope, flattening his ears with a menacing hiss. Banewhisker patted from the crevice at the edge of the rocks. The dark gray warrior's eyes gleamed, but not with any warmth or welcome for the returning cats. Stormfur was scanning the rocks for Greystripe. Squirrelpaw followed his gaze, but there was no sign of the Grey ThunderClan deputy, or her own father. She fought down the urge to turn tail and flee back to the forest, back to the mountains even. She miserably met Bramaclaw's gaze. "They don't want us here," she whispered. "But understand once we've explained," he promised. Squirrelpaw hoped he was right. The sound of rapid paw steps behind them made her spin around, startled. A pale gray warrior, Ashfur, skidded to a halt in front of her. She searched his eyes, afraid to find rage, but there was only surprise. You came back! He held his tail high and reached out his muzzle to touch hers in greeting. Squirrelpaw felt a rush of relief. At least one cat seemed glad they returned. Shrewpaw scrambled out of his hollow and raced across the rock toward them, with Whitepaw close behind. Shrewpaw, Squirrelpaw cried, trying to sound as if she'd been no farther than her high stones, and for no more than a couple of sunrises. How's the training going? Been working hard, Shrewpaw answered breathlessly as he reached her. Whitepaw halted beside him. We would have seen our first gathering if the two legs hadn't destroyed. Ashfur shot the white she-cat a warning glance. They won't have heard about that yet, he hissed. It's okay, Brambleclaw put in. We know about 4 trees. Webfoot told us. Webfoot? Ashfur narrowed his eyes. Have you been on WindClan territory? We had to travel back that way, Squirrelpaw explained. Back from where? Meowed Shrewpaw, but Squirrelpaw didn't answer. She had seen Dustpout and Mousefur emerging from their makeshift den. Surfer crept out from the hollow beside them. All the warriors were moving closer now, like ghosts slipping through the shadows. Squirrelpaw stifled a shiver as they padded down the rock. She backed away, brushing against Brambleclaw's pelt, and feeling Stormfur edging closer, equally wary. It reminded her of the first meeting with the cats from the tribe of Rushing Water. Fear stabbed Squirrelpaw's heart as she realized that it was not just the forest that had changed. Her own clan was different too. So, where did you go? Growled a distinctive voice. Frostfur had climbed out of the elder's gully above them. The old she-cat had lost much of the sleekness of her now snow-white pelt. But Squirrelpaw still flinched under her icy stare. Been on a long journey, Brambleclaw began. You don't look like it. Burncloud had left the kits and pushed away to the front. You look better fed than us. Squirrelpaw tried not to feel guilty about the amount of fresh kill she had caught on the journey. Burncloud, I heard about Loachkit, and I'm sorry. Burncloud was in no mood to listen. How do we know you didn't just desert the clan because you couldn't face a hungry leaf bear with the rest of us? She hissed. Squirrelpaw heard Mousefur and Thornclaw mew in agreement. But this time, anger overcame her fear. How could he think of such a thing? She spat, her fur bristling. Well, your loyalty clearly lies outside the clan, growled Mousefur, staring at Stormfur. Our loyalty has always been to the clan, Brambleclaw replied evenly. That's why we left. And what's a RiverClan warrior doing with you? Dustpelt demanded. He has some news for Greystripe, Brambleclaw meowed. He'll leave as soon as he's spoken to him. You'll leave now, Mousefur hissed, taking one pace forwards. Cinderpelt stepped between Mousefur and Brambleclaw. Tell them about StarClan's prophecy, she urged. A prophecy? StarClan has spoken? Squirrelpaw's clanmates stared at her and Brambleclaw like hungry foxes. We must tell Firestar first. Squirrelpaw mewed quietly. Where's Firestar? Brambleclaw called out. He's away hunting, was Sandstorm's voice. Squirrelpaw waited breathlessly, half joyful and half anxious as the ginger she-cat padded towards her daughter and stopped a tail length away to stare at her. We're back. Squirrelpaw searched her mother's expression for some sign of welcome. You're back, Sandstorm echoed wonderingly. We had to leave. StarClan gave us no choice. Brambleclaw defended Squirrelpaw, and she was grateful for the warmth of his flank as he pressed closer. She wanted to confess to her mother that StarClan had not sent the dreams to her. and that she had insisted on going along with Brambleclaw, even though he had been reluctant to take her away from the clan. But fear made the words stick in her throat. Then Sandstorm's whiskers quivered, and she bounded forwards. "One of my kits has returned," she mewed, rubbing her cheek against Squirrelpaw's with fierce love. She felt a rush of relief. "I'm sorry I left without telling you, but..." "You're back," Sandstorm meowed. "That's all I care about." A warm breath grazed Squirrelpaw's muzzle. "I wondered if I'd ever see you again." Squirrelpaw heard a soft purr trembling in her mother's throat. It reminded her when she was a kid, curled in the nursery, his sister at her side. "Oh, Leafpaw, where are you?" A deep meow interrupted them. "It seems that I have my apprentice back," Dustpelt commented. He was as gaunt and hunted looking as the other warriors, but his eyes were filled with warmth as he came over to greet her. "Wherever you have been, you ate well," he remarked, his eyes widening as he looked at Squirrelpaw's sturdy muscles and glossy coat. The tip of Brambleclaw's tail twitched. "We were lucky. There's plenty of fresh kill where we traveled." "Fresh kill is what we need more than anything," mewed Dustpelt. "If we have found good hunting, the clan should know where." "It's a long way away," Brambleclaw warned. Dustpelt flicked his ears. "And it is not for us," he meowed. "We have made our home here. We will not let the Two Legs and their monsters drive us out again." A faint, defiant ripple of agreement sounded from the other cats. Squirrelpaw stared at them in horror, but they had to leave. Midnight had told them that the clans would have to find a new home. The dying warrior was going to show them the way. And Squirrelpaw had assumed that the fact that Thundercloud had been driven out of the camp would make the task of persuading them to leave a little easier. Then she saw a figure on top of the rock, silhouetted against the rosy evening sky. Even though the shadows made it impossible to tell what color the cat's pelt was, there was no mistaking the powerful shoulders and long tail aloft in greeting. "Firestar!" Squirrelpaw called. "Squirrelpaw!" Firestar bounded down the rock, then halted. His whiskers twitched for a heartbeat before he thrust his head forwards and licked Squirrelpaw's ear. She closed her eyes and purred, briefly forgetting the horror that was engulfing the forest. She was home, and that was all that mattered. Firestar stepped back. "Where have you been?" he demanded. "I've got so much to tell you," she answered quickly. "We?" Firestar echoed. "Is Brambleclaw with you?" "Yes, I'm here." Brambleclaw pushed his way through the cats and stood beside Squirrelpaw, dipping his head in respect. The rest of the clan waited, their eyes glinting in the half-light, and even the wind dropped, as if the forest were holding its breath. "Welcome home, Brambleclaw." Squirrelpaw thought she saw a guarded look in her father's eyes, and she felt a chill run through her. A flurry of gray fur caught her eye, no more than a shadow flitting down the darkening slope. It was Graystripe. He skidded to a halt beside Firestar. "So Fire and Tiger have returned," he purred. "Fire and Tiger?" Squirrelpaw echoed. What did Graystripe mean? "It's time to tell them about that later," Firestar murmured, his gaze flicking around and watching the clan. "Oh, of course," Graystripe meowed, dipping his head. And his eyes brightened once more. "Have you seen my two kits?" He glanced hopefully from Squirrelpaw to Brambleclaw. Squirrelpaw nodded. "They went with us," she explained. "Stormfur..." "I'm here." Stormfur pushed his way through the cats. Graystripe's ears twitched in surprise and pleasure. "Stormfur!" He hurried forward and greeted his son with delighted purrs. We're safe. He glanced back at Squirrelpaw and Brambleclaw. We're all safe. I can't believe it. Squirrelpaw's heart tightened. Where's Feathertail? Graystripe's gaze flicked past Stormfur, as if he expected to see the pale gray she-cat waiting at the foot of the rocks. Squirrelpaw stared at her paws. Poor Stormfur. He brought the worst news of all to RiverClan, as well to ThunderClan. Where is she? Graystripe asked, sounding puzzled. She's not with us, Stormfur replied. He looked directly into his father's eyes. She died on the journey. Graystripe stared at him in disbelief. Firestar lifted his chin. Graystripe and Stormfur should be left to grieve in peace, he called to the clan. Squirrelpaw felt a ripple of gratitude toward her father. At least they could explain everything to Graystripe away from the scrutiny of others. As Firestar guided their clanmates away up the slope, he pressed closer to Brambleclaw. Graystripe was gazing at the rock beneath his paws, as though he held an adder there and dared not to release it in case it bit him. We couldn't have saved her, Stormfur told him. He gently nudged his father with his nose. Graystripe swung his head towards Brambleclaw. You should have never have taken her away. His eyes gleamed with anger. Squirrelpaw flicked her tail. It's not his fault. It was StarClan who chose Feathertail to go on the journey, not Brambleclaw. Graystripe closed his eyes. His shoulders sagged until he looked half his usual size. Sorry, he murmured. It's just so unfair. She's so much like Silverstream. As his voice trailed away, Stormfur laid his muzzle against Graystripe's flank. Feathertail died a brave and noble death, worthy of the greatest warrior, he told him. StarClan chose her to go on the journey, and then the tribe of Endless Hunting chose her to fulfill a prophecy of their own. You would have been proud of her. She saved us all, not just the tribe. The tribe? Graystripe echoed. Squirrelpaw could hear the other cats milling about further up the slope. Their murmuring grew louder and more impatient until Firestar silenced them, his voice ringing across the rock. I know you all want to hear where Brambleclaw and Squirrelpaw have been, he meowed. Let them tell me first, then I promise I will share everything with you. I want to hear why my apprentice left, Dustpout growled. And what about the prophecy they mentioned? Mousefur demanded. We have to know what it is. Brambleclaw put his muzzle against Squirrelpaw's ear. Sounds like we'd better join them. He looked at Stormfur. Are you coming? Thank you, Brambleclaw, Stormfur answered. But I'd like to go home. He gazed at Graystripe. I would tell you the whole story, but I wanted you to know you would have been very proud of Feathertail, he said. She died to save us. Graystripe blinked and did not reply. Stormfur turned to Squirrelpaw and Brambleclaw. I know it's going to be difficult, he murmured, but we have to keep going with what we know to be right. Remember what Midnight told us. We're doing this all for our clans. Brambleclaw solemnly dipped his head. Squirrelpaw leaned forwards to press her muzzle against Stormfur's cheek. See you tomorrow, Four Trees, she whispered. Her paws trembled with the pain of saying goodbye to one of her closest friends. For more than a moon, she hadn't thought of him as a river clan and herself as a thunder clan. They were merely clan together, struggling to finish the journey and save all the cats in the forest. As Stormfur padded down the slope, Squirrelpaw saw Mousefur and Thornclaw staring reproachfully at her from up on the slope. She knew how disloyal her affection for the Riverclan warrior must appear, but she was too sad and too tired to bother explaining what the journey meant for the 6 cats who had traveled to the sun-drowned place, and the 5 who had made it home. "All right," Firestar meowed. "The senior warriors would join us to hear what Squirrelpaw and Brambleclaw have to say. And you, Cinderpelt," he gestured with his nose to overhang where Squirrelpaw had seen Dustpelt and Mousefur sheltering. "We'll meet up there." Snorting, Mousefur turned and began to climb the slope towards the overhang. Graystripe and Dustpelt followed her, as Firestar, Cinderpelt, and Sandstorm padded after them. Squirrelpaw stood still for a moment, letting the breeze ripple through her fur. She didn't care how cold she got. In a way, the colder she was, the closer she came to sharing her clanmate's suffering. There wouldn't be any need to be any strength in the wind for it to slice through her unkept fur. Suddenly, she heard Thornclaw let out a growl. She turned, alarmed, and saw Stormfur standing at the foot of the rocky slope with a plump fish in his mouth. "What's the matter?" snarled Thornclaw. "Don't your own clan want you back?" The RiverClan warrior dropped the fish by his forepaws. "I've brought a gift from RiverClan." "You don't need your gifts," Frostfur spat. There was a quiet patting of paws behind Squirrelpaw, and Firestar spoke. It was kindly meant, Frostfur. There was a note of warning in his voice. "Thank you, Stormfur." Stormfur didn't reply. He just looked up at the ThunderClan leader, with his eyes full of sadness. His gaze rested briefly on Squirrelpaw. Then he dipped his head and disappeared into the reeds that led down to the water, leaving the fish behind. Squirrelpaw's belly growled with hunger. She had not eaten since they left the two-leg territory on the far side of the moorland. "You have to wait till later to see if you can track down a mouse or two," Firestar meowed. Hearing her belly complain, "We must feed Ferncloud and the elders first. We're going to have to get used to hunger now that you're back with the clan." Squirrelpaw nodded, trying to readjust. She had grown used to hunting when she felt hungry, sharing only with her friends. Firestar called down to Thornclaw, "Divide the fish between Ferncloud and the elders," before turning back towards the overhang. As Squirrelpaw slipped beneath the jutting rock, he saw that it reached back further than she expected. Smooth rock showed at the sides of the cave, but a chill wind swirled through the opening, stirring the jumbled scents of many cats. Her heart ached for the order and comfort of the old camp, and she closed her eyes, wishing that when she opened them again, she'd see the thickly laced branches of the apprentice's den around her instead of cold, hard stone. "All the warriors share this den," Dustpelt murmured in her ear, as if he had guessed what she was thinking. "There are not many suitable sleeping places here." Squirrelpaw opened her eyes and looked around the hollow, with rage pulsing through her paws. Two Legs had driven her clan to this. The least she could do was lead them to a place of safety, where they would prosper. Hang on a second, I'm gonna drink more water. The least she could do was lead them to a place of safety, where there would be proper sleeping places and enough fresh kill for all the cats. "At least there's a little shelter," muttered Sandstorm, although her fluffed-up fur suggested she was chilled to the bone. Firestar sat near the back of the hollow. Sandstorm and Graystripe settled on either side of him. The ThunderClan deputy was hunched over in his private misery. Oh. Thanks for the maid headpiece. The ThunderClan deputy was hunched over in private misery. Cinderpelt sat beside him, concern clouding her eyes. Now, Firestar began, curling his tail over his paws. Tell me everything from the beginning. Yeah, there's a ton of different pieces like this. Got the bow, there's a tie, and then got a large bow. Got the made headpiece. And it has physics, as you can see. It's cute. Squirrelpaw felt the questioning eyes of her clanmates burn into her pelt. Brambleclaw swept his tail along her flank before facing Firestar. StarClan visited me in a dream and told me to go to the Sundrown place, he explained. I didn't know if I should believe it at first. But StarClan sent the same dream to a cat from each of the other clans. Crowpaw of WindClan, Feathertail of RiverClan, and Tawnypelt of ShadowClan. Firestar tipped his head to one side as Brambleclaw went on. We were all told to make a journey to hear what Midnight told us. What Midnight told you? Dustpelt echoed, bemused. Firestar's green gaze rested on Squirrelpaw, and she forced herself to not duck away. Did you have this dream too? He asked. No, she confessed. But I had to. I wanted to go. She searched for the words to explain why she left, but she did not want to tell Firestar that she had been trying to escape the quarrel. She fell silent, hanging her head. An ad starts in about 40 seconds, you guys. I'm glad she came with us, Brambleclaw burst out. She was equal to any of the warriors. After what seemed like 9 lifetimes, Firestar nodded. Carry on, Brambleclaw. We headed towards the Sundrown place. Thanks to Ravenpaw's help, we heard about the place of endless water from other rogue cats. It was such a long way, Squirrelpaw put in. We thought we were lost so many times. Ravenpaw told us which direction to go, but we didn't know exactly how to get there, Brambleclaw explained. But StarClan had sent us, so we had to keep going. Alright, you guys should be stuck in ads now, so I'm gonna get up and stretch again. We'll come back once ads are over. No way, you also added the tie. That is so funny. There's a tie, there's also the bell too. You know, I actually have a lot more expressions than just the bays. I mean, like I have like the angry, I had the hard eyes. I just have a normal blush. I can cry. I can have sparkles in my eyes. I have a tongue one too. I thought it would replace the head. So you are not in super working mode. All blushes on this. You didn't realize that they all like joined together? No, that they're separate toggles. Yeah, the tongue. Everyone that just came back from ads is probably wondering what the tongue is. This is the tongue. It's floppy. You can see it jiggle a little bit when I talk. Voltron rules applied, AO. Anyway, welcome back everyone from the ads. Bramaclaw explained, but StarClan had sent us, so we had to keep going. Even though we didn't know why they had sent us, Squirrelpaw added. Bramaclaw flexed his claws, making a tiny scraping sound on the hard floor. We were only trying to do our duty to the clan, he murmured. And Loner helped us through Two Lake Place, Squirrelpaw went on, remembering Purdy's rather erratic sense of direction. And eventually we came to the Sundrown Place, like it was nothing like we had seen before, Bramaclaw mewed. High, sandy cliffs with caves underneath, and dark blue water for far as any cat could see, endlessly washing up and down the shore. The crashing water frightened us at first. It was so loud. Then, Bramaclaw fell in. I rescued him, but we were in a cave, and then we found Midnight. Squirrelpaw's words tumbled out incoherently. What do you mean you found Midnight? Dustpelt demanded. Bramaclaw shuffled his paws. Midnight is a badger, he meowed at last. StarClan wanted us to find her because she could tell us what StarClan wanted us to know. And what did she tell you? Firestar's ears twitched as he spoke. That the Two Legs would destroy the whole forest and leave us to starve. Squirrelpaw mewed, her heart suddenly hammering as hard as the first time she had heard Midnight's warning. She told us to lead you away from the forest and find a new home, Bramaclaw added. New home? Sandstorm stared at him in disbelief. So I should leave the forest just because a badger you've never heard of thinks it would be a good idea? Dustpelt meowed. Squirrelpaw closed her eyes. Was ThunderClan going to ignore Midnight's warning? Had their journey and Feathertail's death been for nothing? And did she say how we should find this place? Graystripe sat up and leaned closer, the tip of his tail twitching. Midnight's words echoed in Squirrelpaw's mind once more, and she found herself repeating them out loud. You will not be without a guide. That's what she said. When we return, stand on Great Rock when Silverpelt shines above. A dying warrior they will show. Have you been to the Great Rock yet to look for the sign? Firestar asked. Bramaclaw shook his head. We are going to meet there tomorrow with Tawnypelt, Stormfur, and Crowpaw. We are going to bring our leaders if we could persuade them to come. Are you going to go? Mouseford flattened her ears. Nothing would keep me away, Firestar replied. Dustpelt stared wide at his leader. Not actually thinking of taking the clan out of the forest, are you? Right now, I don't know what I'm going to do, Firestar admitted. But I'm not sure the clan can survive Leafbear. He met Dustpelt's stare, and for a moment, Squirrelpaw saw his eyes flash. Cannot let my clan suffer if there's anything I can do to prevent it. We cannot ignore this message, however it came to us. It may be our only hope of survival. If there is a sign, I want to see it for myself. He straightened and looked at Brambleclaw. Tomorrow, I will go with you to Four Trees. That is the end of chapter 4. So chapter 5 and the final chapter for this stream. Hope you're ready. Chapter 5. Sasha! Mistyfoot called again. Is that you? There was no reply. Leafpaw pressed her muzzle against the web and peered out. She had heard Sasha many times, and was curious to see the rogue she-cat who had taken Tigerstar as her mate and given birth to Mothwing and Hawkfrost while staying with the River Clan. But in the half-light of the wooden nest, he could only make out Sasha's tawny pelt huddled at the back of the cage the two-leg had just brought in. Sasha, are you okay? Mistyfoot called more urgently. Give her some time to recover, Cody advised. The new ones are always quiet. I don't need time to recover, came a furious hiss. How dare they put me in here? If I could get out, I'd rip that two-leg to shreds. What are you doing in the forest? Mistyfoot asked. I wanted to see my kids, Sasha replied. I had heard about the two-legs destroying the forest, and I wanted to make sure they were safe. I saw a Mothwing not long ago, Leafpaw mewed. She was doing fine. She's going to be a medicine cat. Who's that speaking? Sasha called. I'm Leafpaw, ThunderClan's apprentice medicine cat, Leafpaw told her. I'm friends with Mothwing. Do you know Hawkfrost too? Sasha demanded. Is he safe? Leafpaw did not answer. Her paws prickled as she pictured Sasha's other kid. He had an icy blue gaze like the sky in Leaf Bear, and his shoulders were as broad and powerful as those of a warrior twice his age and experience. Last time Leafpaw had met him, he had threatened to drag Sorreltail back to Riverclan camp because she had strayed across the border by mistake. Luckily, Mothwing had persuaded him to let Sorreltail go. Mistyfoot called from her cage. Hawkfrost was fine when I saw him last. Thank goodness, Sasha breathed. The relief in her voice surprised Leafpaw. She sounds as worried as a clan queen would be, she whispered to Cody through the web that separated them. Of course. Cody had been listening quietly to the exchange. She's talking about her kids. She's a she-cat just like any other, after all. But she gave them away to be raised in Riverclan, Leafpaw exclaimed, almost forgetting to keep her voice low. Why didn't she let her own clan raise them? Cody sounded puzzled. Sasha's not a clan cat, Leafpaw explained. She's a rogue. That's right, call me names just because I choose not to live among the rest of you, Sasha growled, overhearing. Not that I care, as long as my kits are safe. I'm sorry, Cody apologized. This is such a small nest, it's hard to not get involved. She glanced sideways at the cage next to hers, where a tattered black rogue crouched without giving any sign that he had heard their conversation. With some cats, at least. She added pointedly. Leafpaw knew that Cody had been trying to befriend the Black Tom, but had not managed to get any answer from him except his name. Cole. You're a kitty pet, aren't you? Sasha asked Cody bluntly. You sound too polite for a rogue. And you look too fat to be a clan cat. Leafpaw saw Cody bristle. Cody's a friend, she mewed, leaping to her defense. Didn't say she wasn't, Sasha meowed. I'm just trying to work out who's who in this place. Mistyfoot explained. They're mostly rogues, but there are a few other forest cats here. Gorstail, Brightheart, and Cloudtail, meowed greetings as Mistyfoot went on. Cody's the only kitty pet, as far as we know. Have any of you worked out a way to escape this foxhole? Sasha asked. Not yet, Mistyfoot admitted. Even StarClan hasn't given us a clue, Leafpaw added. StarClan! In the shadows, she saw Sasha curl her lip. Do you clan cats still believe in that nonsense after what's happened to the forest? Of course we do, Leafpaw hissed. Well, say a prayer for me, little one. Sasha sighed unexpectedly. I think we're all going to need as much help as we can get. I have to open another one though. Man, that one, this one doesn't want to open. Open. Gonna have to set down the book for it. There it goes. Sun high past. That sounds crisp. I know, it was. It was very crisp. Sun high passed, and the tepid warmth of the afternoon sun began to fade. Here comes the two-leg again, Cody called to the other cats. Over the distant grumbling of the two-leg monsters, Leafpaw heard footsteps outside and instinctively crouched at the back of her cage. The nest door opened and the two-leg came in carrying the food pellets. There's no way you'll persuade that two-leg to let us out of here by purring at it, Leafpaw whispered to Cody, as the two-leg began opening the cages and putting in more food. Guess not, Cody shrugged, but it won't hurt to make him trust me. As she spoke, a hiss exploded from the cage next to her. The two-leg leaped backward from Cole's open door. Blood trickled down its forepaw as it stamped around the nest, spitting in rage. Leafpaw strained to see Cole through Cody's cage. She could just make out his shadowy outline as he flattened himself against the door. The blood pulsed in her ears as she glanced over her shoulder at the two-leg. It had stopped screeching and was staring menacingly at Cole. Suddenly, at the vicious cry, it thrust its paw back into the cage, and Leafpaw heard the tom screech in pain. Muttering, the two-leg slammed the door shut. Leafpaw shuddered. What had the two-leg done? When the two-leg opened Cody's door and tipped pellets into her pot, the kitty pet shied away. She was not purring at it now. As soon as the two-leg had gone, Leafpaw yelled, "Are you okay, Cole?" A muffled groan came from the cage beyond Cody's. That stinking two-leg! Leafpaw sniffed the air and smelled the warm tang of blood. Looks bad, Cody whispered to Leafpaw. There's blood on the floor of his cage. Where are you hurt? Leafpaw asked Cole. Cut my leg, replied the rogue. That badger-pawed two-leg shoved me against something sharp. Leafpaw thought quickly. What did Cinderpout use to stop bleeding? Can any cat reach Cobweb? She called. Come on, we have to help him. There's one near me, answered Gorsetail. I think I can reach it. Hang on. Peering down, Leafpaw saw Gorsetail's tawny paw reach out from the cage below her. A large cobweb stretched from the floor of the nest to the top of his cage. He reached toward it, squeezing his foreleg through the hole in the side of his cage. Finally, he managed to plunge his paw into the thick tangle and drag it down. Twisting his foreleg around, Gorsetail held the cobweb as far up towards Leafpaw as he could. Leafpaw flattened herself against the cage and pushed her paw through the shiny floor. It scraped against her fur, but she clenched her teeth and forced her leg through a little more till she could take the wad of sticky cobweb from Gore's tail. She pulled it quickly into a cage and began passing it to Cody. "Give him this," she urged, squeezing the last pieces of cobweb through with their paws. Cody nodded, unable to talk because she was holding a wad of cobweb in her mouth. As she dragged it into a cage, some of it stuck to the side of the hole, wasting a few of the precious threads. "Be careful," Leafpaw gasped. The voice of the rogue beneath them called anxiously up. "There's blood dripping through the top of my cage. That cat's badly hurt." Leafpaw's heart beat faster. "Cole, are you okay?" "It won't stop bleeding," Cole replied, his voice trembling. "Take the cobwebs from Cody," Leafpaw ordered. "Press it against the wound for as long as you can." She heard Cody breathing hard as the kitty pet passed the cobweb through the next cage, followed by a sound of Cole's paws scrabbling on the blood-soaked floor. "Don't panic, Cole," she mewed. "Just press the cobweb on the wound." "It's already soaked with blood," Cole panted. "That's okay," Leafpaw reassured him. "It'll stop any more blood from coming. Just hold it in place." She waited. Silence gripped the nest. Leafpaw's head began to spin, and she forced herself to take slow, deep breaths. "Is he okay?" Brightheart called after a while. "Blood stopped dripping on me," reported the rogue from underneath Cole's cage. "Cole?" Leafpaw called. "How is it?" A ragged sigh came from Cole's cage. "That's better," he murmured. "It didn't even sting." Leafpaw felt a rush of relief, keeping the cobweb there for a bit longer. She told him, "Then you can give the cut a gentle lick to clean it. Not too fierce, you don't want it to start bleeding again." "Well done, Leafpaw," Cody whispered from her cage. Leafpaw blinked. For the first time since she had been captured, she didn't feel entirely helpless. Closing her eyes, she sent a prayer of thanks to StarClan. She had never helped a rogue before, but she knew her warrior ancestors would approve. Loyalty to one clan alone was no longer the way to survive. She realized her belly was growling with hunger. She might as well follow Cody's advice and keep her strength up. Trying not to breathe in the horrible stench, she nibbled out a few of the foul pellets the two-leg had left. "I suppose I should be grateful for an easy meal," she thought, as she forced herself to crunch the dry morsels. "These are disgusting," she muttered. "Not the best I've tasted," agreed Cody. "My housefolk tried to give me something similar once, but I soon let them know what I thought, and they never gave them to me again." Leafpaw nearly choked with surprise. "You make your two legs do what you want?" "They're not so hard to train," Cody mewed. She sat up and began washing her paws. Sasha called across the nest. "You train the mongrel that hurt Cole to be gentler?" "I doubt it," Cody answered. "These workfolk are nothing like my housefolk." Leafpaw saw Brightheart's face appear behind the mesh of her cage. The ginger patches on her white fur looked almost black in the dim light, and it was impossible to see that one side of her face had been terribly scarred by a dog attack many moons ago. "What do you think they're going to do with us?" she whispered. "Perhaps they're going to turn us into kitty pets?" Leafpaw suggested. Much as he disliked the idea, at least that might give them a chance to escape and return to the clan. There was a snort from Sasha's cage. "I don't think so," she rasped. "We're hardly the sort of fluffy, pampered cats that two legs go for." Leafpaw glanced at Cody, hoping she wouldn't take offense, but to her surprise, the kitty pet was nodding. "Sasha's right," she agreed. These folk don't care about cats, clan, rogue, or kitty pet. Trust me. I know the sort of, what do you call them? Two legs? That make good housefolk. These just want to get rid of us." Leafpaw tried to swallow, but her mouth had suddenly become too dry, and the pellets she had eaten seemed to be lodged halfway down her throat. Trying not to bring them up again, she lapped a few mouthfuls of slimy water. She fought the urge to curl up in the back of her cage and lose herself in dreams. She could not rely on StarClan to get her out of this place. She had faith that her warrior ancestors were watching the destruction of the forest, but her instincts told her they were powerless against two-leg cruelty. It was her own wits she would have to rely on now. She had to find a way to escape. She wouldn't let Cody or her clanmates down. She remembered Gorsetail stretching his paw out of his cage to reach the cobweb. Cody, she mewed. He told me you tried reaching the catch that keeps the cage locked. Yes, but I couldn't catch my grip on it, Cody confirmed. What about the rest of you? Leafpaw called out to the other cats. Can anyone undo his catch? Mine's too stiff, replied Gorsetail. My web is ripped, Cloudtail reported. I can almost get 2 paws out, but I can't reach the catch. You're all wasting your time, Sasha growled. Face it, there's no way out of here. Outside, the noise of the two-legged monsters rumbled on, making the nest shudder. Leafpaw couldn't believe there was no way out of the nest. Whatever Sasha thought, if she gave up, there'd be no hope left at all. As she listened to the two legs calling gruffly to one another in the growing dusk outside, she reached through the web at the front of her cage and began to claw at the catch that held it closed. That is the end of chapter 5. So it looks like we got to see them return home. We got to see some of the reactions in ThunderClan about what's going on, and Fireheart has agreed to go to the stone in order to see what the hell's happening at Four Trees. I guess we'll see if the other clans agree once they actually arrive there. And now we know what has happened to all the cats that disappeared. So we got quite a bit of information. Let's see if they agree. Yeah, we're gonna have to see if they agree next week. Aha. Let's see. Is there anyone I want to raid? Is there anyone I'm following that is... Of course, Alien's freaking doing it. I don't want to go to Lip Lasers though. I don't want to go into the lasers though. There's no one in ASMR right now. Otherwise, I would have done that. I might just be ending it today with no raid out. Well, I hope you guys have enjoyed your time. I hope that I got rid of the weird sound that my computer makes a little bit from when I'm talking. I hope I did. What I did is I set one of my books on it so that it would reduce the sound a bit, because for some reason I think one of the bearings in that single fan is rubbing against itself, and that's what's creating the noise. And it seems that putting something on top of it to stop the airflow for that specific fan lowers that. And it's done that ever since I got it. And then when I moved my computer over into my living room, I'm like, I gotta figure out what's causing this. It's one of the fans. It's much more minimal than previously. Okay, good. Then I'll just keep putting a book there or something when I'm streaming. That's gonna help, right? Alright. Well, I hope you guys had fun. I don't think I'm gonna raid out this time, and I don't think anyone has any suggestions. So long as... No, it's just a single fan. I have, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 fans in that thing, and I'm only covering one that's on the top. There are 5 other fans sucking in air into this. There's only one fan that kicks the air out of it. So I don't think it's gonna overheat from one fan being covered. That's the funny part. But yeah, so if you want to see the bow tie, this is the bow tie. And then I also have the leg up thing. I can put my leg up. You see? Yeah. Isn't that nice? I just wanted to show you the other one before I... Oh, wait, I also have this. It's so creepy. I like the bow tie, leg up looks like you're gonna spill some tea.